Remember how you loved the stories at bedtime about princesses and fairy godmothers? Well, you may want to hold on tighter to your teddy bear and keep that nightlight on, because these are not your mother's bedtime stories.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another season 2 of Not Your Mother's Bedtime. You thought you got rid of us, but we're back. We're all here. Just a reminder, this is a paranormal podcast where my sisters and mom and I all like to chat with guests about their creepy experiences. Just to help everybody remember, I'm Chrissy.
Colleen's here.
Sherry's here.
And Karen, the mom, is here.
So we all made it back. We survived a summer. Everybody feeling good? Feeling good about life?
Can't believe it's already September, but, good news is football started.
Oh, yay.
Depending on who you are, it's good news. Football started.
I'm ready for the cooler weather. Tired of sweating.
Yeah, and I will say, so my son, who you'll hear if on the trailer, Kane, he's a very into horror movies, slasher movies. I mean, he, for his birthday, which was in August, our brother got him the Ghostface costume. That's what he wanted for his birthday. So just goes to show you like what he's into. Yeah, got him the Ghostface, and he creepily wears it all around the house. But he wanted to watch the new Children of the Corn movie, which came out, and it was on this new app called Shudder, which I didn't know existed. It's an app that is strictly horror movies and things. And so Kane and I were joking because we ordered it last weekend, and I said, "Oh, Kane, it's a 7-day trial." I'm like, 7 days? Like, you have 7 days to cancel your subscription. And then like the 7th day came up, and I forgot to cancel the subscription. So we have another month of Shudder, and he's really excited about it. He's like, how's all these movies lined up that he wants to go through all of the Halloween series, all the Friday the 13th series, all of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. He's like, Mom, what's another series? And I'm trying to think. I'm like, well, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I guess, is another series. But I mean, just like all these types of movies that he wants to watch, and he's 9. But, that was kind of what we grew up with as well. It's like, we never really had any restrictions on our horror movie taste, but he's definitely inherited, if that is a gene, maybe it is, he's definitely inherited that one. He likes the horror movies, but so needless to say, he's gonna be Ghostface for Halloween. I'm not buying them. I've already got that one taken care of.
And he says that our stories do not keep him up at night, so we need to do a good job this season of changing that and getting even more spookiness. And I think a good way to start off our second season is with my coworker, Felisha, and her son, Santos. They're our guests this week. And I've been working on Felisha for quite a while to come on and tell her tales, because where we work, we get to chat and tell stories. And we've been coworkers for like 15, 16 years, I think. So a long time. So I've heard a lot of stories that give me goosebumps, right in the middle of a day on a Wednesday. So I am excited to have Felisha and Santos tell their story. So whenever you guys are ready, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, I'm Felisha, and I guess I'll start. We purchased our house that we currently live in 2008. It was cold, and we were able to increase square footage. We doubled. So it's like a 2,400 square foot home with 5 kids. That would make Santos 4. Mm-hmm. He has 2 little brothers. Anthony's a year and a half younger, and Julian was born July of 2007. So he was just a baby when we moved in. I also have 2 daughters that are 4 and 5 years older than Santos. And so we all moved into this split level home. It has 3 bedrooms upstairs, a living room, bathroom, kitchen, dining room. And downstairs is another living room, bedroom, and a bathroom. Laundry room and the garage. So when we first moved in, everything we owned went into this 2-car garage, and we had like 3 mattresses on the floor. in the living room downstairs because we wanted to go through and paint and do some cleaning up. The house was built in 1975, and it was horrible when we bought it. The condition was pretty sad. So the very first night was when I started noticing that our house had lots of character. I always tell everybody that our house cried the night we moved in. I remember laying on the floor, on the mattress with Rick and the kids, and just hearing this. It sounded like a woman was moaning or crying, and it was throughout the whole house. You could hear it in the vents, mainly. And I remember looking at Rick and saying, "What is that? Do you hear that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just the furnace. It's old." And it sufficed me. I, for years, didn't even think about it. I remember hearing it for weeks after we moved in, every night. But I never thought anything about it. It just slowly faded away. I didn't really think much of it.
Was it always at the same time? At the same time of night? Or did you notice a time?
I never really paid attention. I don't know if we went to bed at the same night or the same time every night, but it was probably close. But it was always in the evening when I noticed it, when everything was quiet.
Okay.
And I mainly noticed it when I was downstairs in the living room downstairs, because I think as we started getting all the bedrooms ready, we had the 2 girls shared a bedroom and the 3 boys shared a bedroom. They shared the master upstairs, and then we had the 3rd bedroom upstairs. Nobody slept downstairs in the beginning. So we were all upstairs, and like I said, it just kind of went away, and I, in my mind, accepted what Rick said about the furnace and didn't really think much of it. But so now Rick and I decided we were going to move downstairs. It was time to separate. So we have a living room, bedroom, bathroom down here, kind of like our own oasis. And I don't hear that. I don't hear anything in our vent, and it's still the same one that it was when we moved in. So I'd like to say that it fixed itself, and that's why I don't hear it. But I don't think that's really what happened.
And so you said, so you heard it, and Rick heard it, your husband, but yeah. Did the kids hear it?
I know the girls did. I know they noticed it, Lena for sure. But again, you got Dad saying, "Oh, it's just the furnace." And the first time we've lived in a house like this, before we moved here, we lived in a manufactured home, like a double wide. It was quiet. We just weren't used to it. This house.
And so when you stopped hearing it, did anything significant happen around that time? I mean, you mentioned your daughters moved out. Did it stop after they moved out, or anything kind of correlate with it stopping?
I think as we moved upstairs, it just was something that I didn't notice, or maybe it didn't do it at all. I think it just kind of went away for the most part. I mean, we had the playroom down here in the living room, and I mean, it would turn on, and I don't remember it being a big thing while they were down here during the day. I don't remember noticing it. It's just mainly when we first moved in. And a side note, we bought this house as an estate, or it was an estate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. Is what was the
what
was the history?
Go ahead and
of
tell the story, because I think that definitely helps of why there might be the crying in your house.
The lady that owned it before us, this was her retirement home. This was the home she bought to retire, and she had little things done. We could tell there was some updates, and she had a cow spa put in the backyard with a gazebo around it, and you could tell this was going to be her rest of her life place. And we were told by her children that she died 5 years after she bought it.
In the house?
They did not say it was in the house. And we didn't ask, to be honest.
Maybe that downstairs.
They're supposed to
area?
tell you though, right?
Yeah, but I still think, I mean, like, this was her, like, you know, heart and soul. This was her pride and joy. So even if she passed away, like, in the hospital, yeah. Do you want to talk about the mural on the wall?
Oh, yes. So the upstairs, the kitchen used to be, it had an L-shaped wall that separated it from the living room and the dining room. And somebody had painted this huge mural on one of the walls. And it was pretty big. I mean, how big would you say? Christine, you saw it. How big do you think that was?
I mean, it was the entire wall. Like, it was the whole big wall. So I mean, you know, like a 8-foot tall ceiling. It was like floor to ceiling, and then like probably 8 foot wide. It was big. I mean, a very, you know, somebody put a lot of time into this mural.
Yes, and when we first moved in, decided to leave it. I mean, it wasn't anything professional, but it was something that somebody, like Christine said, took a lot of time creating, and so we just left it in kind of respect for whoever did it. Yeah, we just kept it there until we decided to remodel.
What was the mural? What was it?
It was just like a landscape. And it had and it was just mountains and sky. Like, it was nothing extravagant, but it was huge.
And it wasn't signed? You don't know who actually painted it?
Yes, it was signed.
M. Coy.
Is that what it was? Mm-hmm. So, see, I don't even remember. M. McCoy is what it was signed. So,
and that wasn't the person that you bought the house from?
Nope. That was not. I don't know who did that. If she had somebody do it, or if it was there when she moved in, I have no idea. So, I guess I can just tell you guys a little bit as I remember as the years went on from purchasing the house.
Well, to actually back you up, so I think one of the creepiest stories, and I don't hope I don't get you all confused, but what happened when you guys tore that wall down?
Oh, yes. that was interesting. I mean, we heard, I mean, nonstop, like somebody would pace the hallway. You could hear footsteps in the hallway. Sometimes it sounded like there was a party going on in the living room, whether it was a party where everybody's having fun or a construction, you know, banging with hammers and just loud noise. I would get up and go down the hallway, and the noise would just disappear. There was never anything there. Nothing. I've never been able to see anything. It's always noise, just noise. And sometimes, though, it's so alarming because it catches you off guard. And I'm always one to, I got to figure out like what's the logical reason for the noise. So it has to be the house is old, or, you know, the flooring's old. I always have an excuse. If I can't see it, I don't believe it. But there's some times where the noise you've heard, there's nothing logical you can tie it to. I remember one time, at that time we were sleeping in the master bedroom, which shares the wall with the bathroom, the only bathroom upstairs. And along the wall is the cabinetry for the bathroom and the sinks. And on the other side of the wall in the bedroom was our headboard. And I remember getting up because I thought one of the kids had woken up and was like going through the cupboards in the bathroom and making like the loudest noise. And I was so angry because I had to get up and go to work, and I had gotten woken up, and I got up out of my bed. I was ready to ream some rear end, and I go and open up the bathroom door, and it's pitch black, and there's nothing going on, and the noise is gone. And I just remember like staring at this dark bathroom. You know, of course I've turned the light on, and you're just staring at nothing. You're just looking at the bathroom, and nothing's out of place. Nothing's been opened. I go down to the bedrooms because all the doors are close, and I see that all the kids are sleeping. None of them are awake. I don't know what made the noise.
So did the party noises happen only at night, or did they happen at other times of day too?
I think in the evening tonight is when most of the things have happened, but it's definitely, we've had things happen during the day as well. I used to fight, like openly, verbally fight with something because I would come downstairs to do laundry and my laundry light would shut off. And I'm like, I'm in here. I go out, toggle the switch back and forth, and then it'll come on all of a sudden. But I mean, it was so bad. Ricky at the time, he was working in out of state, and so I was by myself, and I remember calling my uncle and asking him, "Can you come, take this light fixture out? I bought a new one. I think there's something wrong with it. I've changed the bulbs. It just keeps going out, and it's like I go down there to do laundry, and it turns off. It's pissing me off, And he come and he changed it out, and wasn't. But a couple days later, I'm doing laundry, and the light turns off. And I'm like, I need to do laundry. It was just, it wasn't scary to me. It was annoying. Like it irritated me. And I remember plugging in a lamp, which I didn't have very many lamps, but I had one that was in the garage. I grabbed it, put a light bulb in it, and the light or the plug-ins in the laundry room were taken up. So I stuck it from my bedroom with an extension cord and put it in the landing area so I could see in the evening so I could do laundry. The house, it's older, so there's not a lot of lighting to turn on. So I needed another light just so I could cycle laundry. And then the light in my lamp would turn off. Like, not click off, but the light bulb would go out. And I would just be like, okay, I'm done. Like, this is ridiculous. And I would just walk away because it was just annoying.
Was that after? Did that happen after you tore down the mural?
That was before the...
Okay, so it wasn't because they were mad because you turned like,
no,
I'm gonna really piss her off. She took my mural.
No, actually, before the mural was taken down, Julian, my youngest, I used to always question him because he would be on the sofa and he would just be like talking away and like laughing, and there's nobody that he was talking to that I could see. And I would go over there and be like, "Who are you talking to?" And he would just like shrug his shoulders like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Julian, who are you talking to?" And he would get up and like go. He hated being questioned about that. He was clearly talking to somebody.
Kids are so creepy. Why they gotta do that?
Dang.
They can see
my son did the same thing. It's creepy.
Look, pets too. Do you have any pets, Felisha, or no?
Oh yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
And we have one currently who she's actually, I think, affected by something in the house. We have a mini Aussie, and we have a pit bully. And our mini Aussie, she's kind of keeps to herself. She doesn't really, nothing really excites her. Although she will cry to go outside sometimes, and it has been on the same nights where Santos has been experiencing some things. So that's kind of interesting. Her way of dealing with it is she wants out. When a lot of stuff is going on, she doesn't like to be in the house, so she'll leave, or she'll like bug you until you put her out. Ellie, on the other hand, the pit bully, she tries to act tough, but she's really a big chicken. Actually, today I was doing dishes, and the only people upstairs were my son Julian and his friend. They were in his bedroom. The door was shut. I had Santos's bedroom door open and Anthony's bedroom door open. I'm doing dishes, and usually the dogs stay out with me, but I Ellie had ventured back to, I'm assuming, Santos' bedroom, because Ellie is Santos's dog. And all of a sudden, I just hear her like scream, like hauling butt down the hallway, and so fast that she can't even stop. She's going so fast, she slams into the fireplace.
Oh.
I turn around and I look at her and I'm like, "What's your problem?" And she's just staring down the hallway. And I'm like, oh, "Okay, I guess." And that was, she'll go back, she'll be back there and she'll be barking and barking, and it's like, "What are you barking at?" And she'll just be staring at the doorway, but there's nothing there. But I never saw anything. And I think the kids would get freaked out sometimes when they were little.
Well, and you had a lot of teenagers go through your house, and we've talked about this before, that maybe teenagers and adolescents bring like a lot of energy. Like I know you said the girls, when they were teenagers, seemed to have a lot of things happen to them with, you know, like while they're studying, and it wasn't one of them at home alone one night and had to leave because she was so freaked out. I can't remember if it was Lene or Belle, but
Belle, yeah, she was downstairs. I gave the girls downstairs while they were teenagers. They shared it. And Belle used to do her homework on an exercise ball next to the bed. And she would lean up against the wall, and she's called us all freaked out one night. She was the only one home, and she was like, are you guys almost coming home? And it's like, "Why? What happened?" And she's like, "I was doing my homework, and all of a sudden there's this big bang right by my head on the wall." Like, so that would be on the stairs in a split level going down. That's the wall. So it would have been on the stair area. But she said just a big bang right by her head, and she was freaked out. Things scared her probably more than the rest of the kids. She tended to she loved scary movies, but she didn't like stuff going on at the house. It would freak her out. Like the laundry room light, it didn't just do that to me. The girls would come down to help me out or to grab their clothes, and the lights would go out on them as well, and they would just book it back upstairs, like it'd freak out. So that I wasn't the only one affected by that. Oh, I also remember Julian when he was little. He was old enough to talk pretty good, but not in school yet. But he came down the hallway before we have done the remodel, so the mural would still be there. It was, I think, Lene, Isabel, and I were the only girls in the house. The rest were boys. And Julian walks past the kitchen doorway and into the living room and says, "Who's the lady in the kitchen?" We all looked at each other and we were like, "What? There's no lady in the kitchen." And he was like, "Yeah, she's looking out the window." And I remember, like, that gave me goosebumps. That was kind of creepy. But there was nobody there. And then of course we quizzed him so much about it that I don't know if he started making stuff up or just trying to tell us what he thought we wanted to hear, because we were like, "What was she wearing?" But
like with his description, I mean, did it match the description of the lady that had owned the house before, or
I don't know.
oh, because you don't know what she looks
yeah,
like.
and I guess my other question is, like, you said she owned the house 5 years before you bought it? I mean, did you speak to her kids, or have you spoken with her kids? Like, was anything unusual occurring when she was there, or does it all seem to stem from her?
We met one of the sons, and the little bit of information that we did gather was pretty vague. He didn't really tell us much other than, this was supposed to be his mom's forever place, and it was cut short. So there was not a lot of information from him. Most of the information we got was from the realtor. He didn't say anything to us that would have clued us in that anything was going on like this. So, I mean, in my mind, just over the years, I kind of think I hope it's linked to her, because nothing's ever been mean or like hurtful. It's just been unsettling at times. my mom and dad stayed here and was watching the kids for Rick and I, because we were on a soccer tournament weekend. My mom said she woke up and she said all she could hear in the living room was party going on, lots of noise. She had no idea what was, what was really going on. The boys were fast asleep. As soon as she got up and went out there, there was nothing going on. And she called me that morning, like the next morning. She called me like I want to say like at 5 o'clock in the morning, because she had to tell me what had just happened. She had heard some of the stuff that had happened here, but I don't know if she really believed me until she experienced it for herself. So I know that the stuff that goes on, it's not limited to just us. I think if you're here when whoever's doing it wants to do it, you're gonna hear it. You're witness it with your ears, I guess. One time I at the time worked, I think I was working at Safeway still, but I came home for lunch, and I remember I went downstairs first to the fridge. We have an extra fridge in the garage, and I had grabbed a couple of things, and I was going to go back upstairs, and I remember stopping because I could hear somebody running down the hallway, like stomping, running, like it was so loud. And I knew that nobody should be home. I was just home for my lunch break, so it was kind of scared me. I thought somebody might be in the house, so I kind of stopped and waited before I went up the stairs. And just as I was about to put my first foot on the steps, I just hear stomping above me. And I remember like all the hairs on the back of my neck and my arms like stood up, and I was just like, oh. And I didn't look up. I just continued up the stairs looking straight ahead, and I was telling myself, okay, whoever's there, I'll see it as I round the turn to go up the rest of the stairs. And I continued up, and as I turned, there was nobody there. So I had a really short lunch because I was.
See, no, I think you were working.
Lost my appetite.
You were working with me that day, because I remember you coming back from lunch. That was the story I was hoping you would tell. Where you? I think you even said at that time, like, you felt that whoever was there didn't want you there. Like you would almost like kind of come in on them when they were having their time in the house or something, kind of a thing. And you're like, yeah, I came back. I didn't want to
she's
be
not supposed to be home.
right. Interrupted the party.
I have my party. Yeah.
That's probably the only time that I felt like I didn't want to be here. Because everything that's happened since then, or even before, it had never bothered me that much. But that time, it bothered me. Like I said, my hairs were standing up, and all I could think about was getting out of the house.
Have you ever talked to it before? Like said, stop it, or
quit messing with me? Right.
Like I would go downstairs and I would argue with whoever was there, because it got to the point where, I would toggle them back on and the light would come back on. So I would start doing continue folding clothes, and then it would go off again. And I mean, I remember like being down there and just being like, come on. Like it's late. I'm trying to get this laundry done. Just give me a few more minutes. I mean, it was bad. That's probably the only time I've been verbal, just in the open to whoever will hear me.
Now, Santos, what kind of things did you experience growing up? Do you remember?
Nothing really happened to me until I kind of started getting into like my early teenage years. I've had a couple pretty creepy things happen to me. 3 that I can remember still really stand out and are like vivid. So the first kind of occurrence I had, I was in one of the rooms upstairs, and in this room, basically, you walk in, and to the right, you have a closet. My bed sat on the opposing wall from the door. And that night, I had settled in, and I was kind of just getting to bed. And out of nowhere, I just started hearing rustling in my closet. And I kind of just remember sitting there and telling myself, oh, well, it'll go away, just ignore it, or, turn your phone on, check the time, do anything you can to to just ignore this sound that's going on in the closet.
What kind of sound? Like what
It was like rustling. I mean, all I have are clothes in there, right? And
like scratching, or like somebody's like trying to pick out an outfit, or what? Like what are they doing?
You know, I can't really explain to you the sound. It was just rustling, and I know clothes don't make the sort of rustling that was, you know, going on in the moment. Yeah, out of nowhere, it had just stopped. You know how you kind of just get this like fight or flight. You kind of just get like a super focus when things like that are happening. Well, that had happened to me. I had kind of gone into like a super focus, like listen, and I started getting like this really weird, like tingly feeling on like my forehead. Like if somebody was holding something really close to you, you know how you can kind of feel it. You can sense it almost. And I had that feeling just around my neck and like around the top of my head. And, you know, it's pitch black. So that's creeping me out even more. And I think what finally did it in for me was the closet door had actually retracted a little bit, and I was done. The creaking noise from the closet retracting, that that did it. I called it quits. I went out and got water and came back.
I would have done more than just get water. Like, I'm not going back in there.
Did you bring the dog in there with you?
At the time, we didn't have the pets that. Yeah, they stayed downstairs.
The dog would have been like, "Hell no, I'm not going."
Right. Yeah. So that stood out to me a lot. Thinking back, there was actually an instance that it happened actually earlier this week that really freaked me out. It pushed me to the point where I left. I couldn't be in the house anymore. I was sitting in my room after my shower, just kind of picking my clothes out and figuring out what my plan was. And I remember sitting there on my phone, and out of nowhere, my shoes had kind of, I don't really know how to explain it. They pushed themselves off the rack, I guess. As crazy as it sounds.
Explain what kind of racks you have. That way.
So I have shoe racks that attach to the wall, and they're kind of like floating shoe racks, I guess. You bolt them into the wall and they hold your shoes.
They just rest on top of like a little ledge.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And this ledge is pitched so that the shoes don't fall off on their own. They actually lean towards the wall. And I'm sitting there on my bed and looking at my phone, and just out of nowhere, I see this pair of shoe from the top part of the rack actually go 4 or 5 inches off the rack. It had moved itself. And then kind of just in the moment while that shoe was falling, another pair of shoes that was 3 racks over had fallen off and landed on some things that I had on my desk. And there was really no way to explain that. I think in the moment I got up, not even dressed, just had my towel on. I booked it out of the room. I couldn't.
So when you came downstairs,
where are these shoes?
Yeah, there was no way to explain my shoes falling off of their rack. That was enough for me to, you know, I'm there, but what really did it into the point where I was ready to leave and leaving was I went downstairs and I had gotten dressed, and I was telling my mom, you know, what had happened. How are these shoes flying off the wall like that? She kind of reassured me, and I went back up to my room.
I told you to take the dogs with you.
Yeah, I had taken the dogs with me. And upon just entering my room, I had this really weird sensation and feeling just all around me. I felt cold, just like this. I don't want to be here. I don't feel welcome feeling. As fast as I could throw my shirt on, the dogs were gone, right? And I kind of just took a quick glance around the room just to kind of scan and make sure everything was, you know, in place, or just to get like a visualization of the room. I had this really overwhelming feeling around the backside of my neck, and it was just really cold. And it was just that hyper feeling where it's fight or flight. You gotta go. Or
I heard him running down the hall.
Grab my keys and go.
And he's like, "I'm out of here, Mom. I gotta go."
Yeah. I think other than those last 2, there has been one other one that just really convinced me that, we're not really alone in this house. And this took place about a year ago. On this particular night, I had fallen asleep on the phone with my girlfriend. So we had FaceTimed, kind of just leading up to us going to sleep. And so we had both fallen asleep on the phone. In the middle of the night, for the last 3 nights, this same thing has been happening. And I tried to, shrug it off, do what I could to just tell myself that it's, the wind or whatever. But the door to my room would wiggle and shake, and it would slam itself, I guess, all while the door is shut.
Because it had room to move while being shut, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So on this particular night, I had my dog with me, and she was laying on the end of my bed, and she kind of gets up and she's looking around, and the banging from the door had actually woke me up. It's just where I noticed the dog, and the door just began to bang. It shook itself. It banged itself about 3 times, and then it stopped. And in that moment, I froze. I didn't know what to do. I mean, it's pitch black. There's no other light other than from my phone and the little bit of light that's coming in through my window. And it took about 7 or 8 seconds from what I can remember, and it began to bang again. It was 3 really loud bangs. It was actually so loud that it had woken up my girlfriend who was on the phone.
Wow.
And you're sure this is not like your brother's messing with you or anything? Like,
Yeah, so after it happened, I had hung up on my girlfriend and I called my parents and I said, will you guys please come up here, because my door it's slamming and banging and I can't explain what's going on. So they had came up and we went through and we asked my brothers who shared the 2 walls, I guess, if they,
We're messing with them.
and they were,
But one sleeping.
yeah, they were sleeping. I mean, it was close to 3 a.m. when this was happening.
Yeah, because I remember thinking, I might as well just stay up, because I get up with Rick in the mornings to make him lunch and stuff. So we get up usually between 4:30 5:30. And that wasn't the first time. He's experienced quite a bit of stuff where he's called us when he was younger. Not so much now, but when he was younger, he would call us and he'd be like, Mom, can you please come up here and turn on my light? And I'd be like, really, Sandoz? And he'd be like, Mom, please. So I would go up there. He would tell me, oh, it's because I'm hearing, knocking or banging on my wall or my door. It was always something, or something's in my closet. There's never anything there, but I believed him. And then I think for me, what kind of told me that he wasn't exaggerating is when Chloe was able to back him up and say, yeah, I've heard knocking or noises in his bedroom in the middle of the night when there should be nothing going on. I mean, I think didn't you tell me one time you had actually woke Santos up because you were hearing the knocking?
Yeah, and it always came in 3s and 5s.
I don't know if you heard Chloe, but she said the knocking always comes in 3 or 5s.
We know the significance of 3s, but yeah, I've never heard
3.
5.
We know 5.
It's weird. It's like Morse code or something like that. Like knock, 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 knock. Where's my mural? Knock, knock, knock. I don't know.
And you said when your daughter had the knock, it was just a 1 knock, right?
It was just, well, that's what she told us, was just 1. It was
Bang.
like a bang right by her head. Yeah.
I've experienced just a single bang while I've been asleep, but usually when things like that happen, I wake up and I try to just cipher it out myself and explain to myself why it happened and go back to sleep.
Have you guys ever thought about trying to get rid of the spirit?
We have had one of the fathers from the Catholic Church come twice and bless the house. He sprinkled holy water everywhere. Told us everything would be fine. And for a little while, it is pretty quiet. We've smudged the house multiple times. I think that probably has lasted Like that'll last the longest with the smudging. But that's all we've done. Um, Rick's theory is the more attention you give it, the more things are gonna happen. So, I mean, just the other night, maybe 3 weeks ago, I had gone upstairs to get water. So I was getting water from our refrigerator dispenser, and I had turned around. We have two birds, and I had walked over. I have an AC unit, like a standalone one, and I was messing with that to make sure that it was set where I had wanted it. And I turned around to go back downstairs, and Julian, Rick, and we watched this TV series together in the evenings. So he had handed me the remote to the Roku. Well, I had set it on the arm of the sofa where I sit, and earlier in the evening. And so when I turned around to go back downstairs, I watched the remote not just drop from the arm of the sofa, but just kind of shoot out and like land on the floor, and it kind of, slid a little bit. And I just remembered like looking at it and like thinking to myself, did I just see that happen? Like, how the heck did that happen? And I just like stood there looking at it for a little bit. And I just thought, wow, okay. And I turned around and I left the remote on the ground and I went downstairs, and I was laughing because I was like thinking about it. And Rick, I tell him, "You're not gonna believe what I just saw." And I tell him what happened, and he, of course, didn't have much to say. And I go to bed. That nothing else happens. But then after Santos having that shoes come off of his wall, Rick and I were talking about it, and he asked me, "Did you pick up that remote?" And I said, "No, I told you I left it there. I left it on the ground." And he said, "Well, when I went up there in the morning, it was on the arm of the sofa. So did you really see that?" And I was like, "Are you seriously questioning whether I saw that or not? You had to have heard it. It was right above you. So somehow it had found its way back to the arm of the sofa. And like I said, we get up early, so it's before the kids. I doubt anybody came out and picked up the remote in the middle of the night. It was weird.
So at least she cleans up after herself.
Right?
Well, I mean, and I almost wonder, like, it just seems like these stories that you've been telling seem to have two different things going on. So I wonder if there's more than one, because, like, I understand the moaning, maybe that's her, her children sold her house, her forever house. She was very upset about it. Maybe she was upset, and she eventually got over it, but that would explain, your youngest son, Julian, seeing a woman standing in the kitchen. She's looking out at her backyard, kind of her little oasis that she created with her gazebo and everything. But I wonder if there is something else, like maybe I could be wrong, but she doesn't seem like the person, if this was like her retirement home, to be throwing parties and kind of causing a stir, if you will. I wonder if maybe this McCoy or whomever this mural, there was something else, because she had only lived there for 5 years, but you said this house was built back in 1975. So there's a lot of time in between, and people could have moved in and out. So I wonder if there was somebody else, maybe the person that either painted the mural or had that mural painted, or there was some significance there. And maybe they did use that house as more of, this was kind of their party. Maybe there was more significance in those bedrooms. And, the rooting around in the closet, the rooting around in the cabinets in the bathroom, the running down the hall. Like, I don't know. To me, that just doesn't strike me as an older woman that, is diagnosed with cancer. Like, that would be doing that. So I almost wonder if there's like a second entity that maybe is a little bit more rambunctious and, maybe a little bit more mischievous in the things that they're doing. I don't know. I don't know what everybody else is getting, but that's kind of the feelings that I'm getting, is that there might be multiple.
Yeah, I don't know how many people own the house. I've never really researched it or I don't know if it was ever rented either by any of the owners. I know that right now the house doesn't look anything like it used to, inside or out. Everything's been remodeled from top to bottom, inside and out. I don't know if it is somebody that has significant ties. I could see frustration.
Well, and it just seems like you've had different feelings too. Like when you first started talking about it, you said
That is true.
you never felt any harm or, didn't like nothing, malignant or anything malicious or anything like that. But then there's both of you described situations where you felt uncomfortable and that something didn't want you to be there. So to me, that just seems very contradictory to each other. Like one is more peaceful, one is more of just, okay, we're coexisting, but the other one, whether they're coming in at a certain time or there's like a time of day or night that they want that house to be them to themselves, or they want to do things their own way, and you're disrupting that. And so that's when they make, but to have those feelings of being uncomfortable, but then other times not having those, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like there could be two different things going on there.
Maybe there's something having to do with new people coming in, like when your parents were there and it acted up, and then maybe even though Chloe she's on the phone, like she's there, but even though she's not physically there, like her presence is there with her being on the phone. Maybe that's kicking something up too, like new people coming in. When your daughters left the house, was there like any kind of them leaving? Did that upset?
No, actually, I think a lot of stuff like settled down for quite a while, pretty quiet. I think but so there's 4 and 5 years between him and the girls. Took a while for Santos to hit his teens after they left, and yeah, things started back up.
You're right. Yeah. So maybe that's more of like the poltergeist energy that kicks up, because you have Julian and Anthony who are older teens in the house, and there's that teenage energy too, versus just this kind of residual haunting. Yeah. Could be interesting.
Yeah, I would just be curious to know more, if there's something, did other people that live there experience anything similar? I mean, and Santos, you said that you didn't really start experiencing anything until you were a teenager. So there could be that there is some kind of, that extra energy that's produced. I mean, we had experiences like that in our house as well, like just being that kind of adolescent age. But it just seems that, I wonder, like I said, maybe there is some kind of poltergeist energy, and then there is this woman. I don't know. I just feel like her presence and, how her intentions with the house, and then how it kind of changed over. And I feel like she's still there, but there might be something else too.
Good. Well, any other parting stories that you guys want to talk about?
In the house lived in before here, and this is probably even before I had Santos. Probably just had the girls. So Rick, their dad, I never thought anything about this until he told me why years later. But he would always wake me up and ask me to go get him water in the middle of the night. Like never the same time, but it never failed. At least once a week he was asking me to go get him water. And I would get up and go and get it for him, not thinking anything. And we got to talking about stuff, and I think it was when we moved in here, we were talking about some of the stuff that was going on, and he started laughing one time. We were talking about stuff, and he goes, "You want to know why I used to always ask you to go get water?" And I was like, "Okay." And he tells me, and so I guess the side note that I should have started with is he can sense like spirits, or he's sensitive that way. I don't know to what extent it is, but I know that he's really sensitive when it comes to spirits, I think. And he told me, he said, when I sense like something that I don't like that makes me feel uncomfortable, you getting up like makes it go away. So how he would get rid of whatever was making him feel uncomfortable is waking me up and having me go out, and get water for him, because it would, I guess, break up or make whatever he was sensing go away. And I was like, wow, that is so fake for you.
What? So what? So it would follow you, or what? Why didn't he get the water?
Think I'm shut down. Like if I can't see it, I don't believe it attitude is like a not welcome. Uh, Like I make whatever is going on go, or I did. So that was kind of unsettling to me to know that he's sensing something not comfortable, and his answer to that was to wake me up and make me go get
Well,
water.
but talk about the one night where he didn't want you to get up.
Oh,
Didn't
give me more,
you tell me
Christian.
that once? Because you said he woke up and he was sitting up, and then you asked you like, "Do you want me to get you a glass of water?" And he said no, and you said, because I don't want to tell your story, but but that's the one that stuck with me. You said that one was different, and that one didn't
Right?
want that one, like, you, it was like bad or something.
Yeah, that was again over at the other house, and yeah, he said that something after the house, and I don't know what if spirits notice when people can sense them or not, but that when I don't know how, like I said, the details of it, but what I've gathered is he could sense things like all the time, but he would try to close himself off. He doesn't like it. It's not something he likes. So he said that something passed through the house that night and was standing in the door of our bedroom, and it was enough to make him, like, he woke up, or he got up, and I had noticed that. Asked him if he needed water. He was like, "No, I just need you to stay right here." But yeah, that was interesting. And back then, I didn't really ask him a lot of questions about it because usually he wouldn't answer. It wasn't until we moved here that he started telling me a little bit more. But he's found a way to ignore it, or it not found a way just to ignore it all, or he's doing what he says and not giving any energy.
Well, yeah, and that's what I find interesting. It's if he's sensitive, and he was the one at the beginning that said, "Oh, it's just the furnace, it's just the house." It's like, is it really? Like, or are you just trying to ignore it and like like you said, don't give it attention, don't give it credit, or it will get worse. So, is that just his way? Like, does he really know that these things are happening, or sense these things, or have more awareness than he's letting on because he doesn't want to draw attention to it and give it more power by drawing attention?
Is because I asked him, like, what did happen? Was that it wasn't the furnace? Like, I know that now. And and of course he's laughing. He knows that it wasn't the furnace. And he knows that it doesn't make that noise anymore, but he won't say why. But if he didn't think or know going on is going, he wouldn't have called his father to come to bless the house. He wouldn't smudge. He's the one who smudged the house. So I know I think.
Well, so now I feel like might have to change my theory, because this almost sounds like, if you think back to our podcast episode with Brittany, I mean, her husband was sensitive, and spirits would travel in and out of the place they lived. Granted, they lived across the street from a cemetery, but it just seems that maybe there's some attraction there, that this is causing, drawing spirits to you. So it doesn't really matter your location. I mean, coincidentally, maybe this woman is still there, that had it, or this, owner of this mural, or whatever the case may be. But it would also make sense why there have been different experiences. I mean, the rattling of the door could be a completely different entity than, the one that moved the remote control. So it just seems that maybe he's more of a beacon, or more of a light that is attracting different types of spirits that are going in and out. And maybe here's another possibility is like when you came home for lunch that day, maybe they weren't expecting you, maybe they were looking for him, maybe that there was some kind of draw there, or they were waiting and you upset them that it wasn't him, and your presence there caused some kind of anger, and that's why you felt like you shouldn't be there, because they didn't want you there. They wanted somebody else that they could potentially have some kind of connection with and
interaction with.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense, and I haven't never even considered that. I never thought about that, but it makes sense. Actually give a good answer or reason to a lot of what has gone on. I mean, the house is really never all the way quiet. I mean, there's footsteps, clear footsteps, I would say at least every other night upstairs, and I hear it because I can hear you can hear everything that goes on upstairs. And so I hear somebody walk almost straight above me where I'm at, in the corner of the house downstairs in our living room down here, and you hear him walk. And above me upstairs in the living room is a huge picture window, and you can hear him walk towards the window and then back away. There's definitely something or somebody here all the time.
Well, thank you, Felisha and Santos. We really appreciate it. We've kept you guys for a while, and lots of good ones, stuff I hadn't heard yet too. So always good to hear new stories.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
We'll be excited to hear the rest of the podcast come.
There you go. And like Felisha said, stay tuned for more episodes coming up this fall season as we roll into spooky October. And tell your friends, spread the word, leave us a review. It helps our ratings and helps us get more visible on podcast platforms. So we appreciate it. Well, thank you all again. And I guess, Mom, have to brush off your skills and let you take it away.
Thank you for listening, and remember to keep that night light on. Good night, sweet dreams.
If you have a story to share, please send it to notyourmothersbedtimestory@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at notyourmothersbedtimestory. And please help us grow by following us on your favorite podcast platform, leaving us a positive review, and telling a friend. Thank you for your support.
Bye, Felisha.
Thank you for listening, and remember to keep that night light on. Good night, sweet dreams.
If you have a story to share, please send it to notyourmothersbedtimestory@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at notyourmothersbedtimestory. And please help us grow by following us on your favorite podcast platform, leaving us a positive review, and telling a friend. Thank you for your support.